Come away with me, and I will write you a song. Come away with me on a bus. Come away where they can't tempt us with their lies. And I want to walk with you on a cloudy day in fields where the yellow grass grows knee high. So won't you try to come away with me, and we'll kiss on a mountain top. Come away with me, and I'll never stop loving you. So all I ask is for you to come away with me in the night. Come away with me.
Unforgettable, that's what you are. Unforgettable, though near or far. Like a song of love that clings to me, how the thought of you does things to me. Never before has someone been more unforgettable in every way. And forevermore, that's how you'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
meeting here at Gaines Park on this very special day for Joe and Danielle. John, you have escorted your daughter Danielle here today to her wedding. Do you now give her hand in marriage to Joe?
Will do.
Thank you very much. We're very pleased to hear that. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to begin today's ceremony by firstly introducing you to my colleague. Sue Reason is the registrar with me today to register and record today's ceremony, and she also will have the pleasure to present Joe and Danielle marriage certificate shortly. Thank you, Sue. My name is Sylvia Roy. I'm a Deputy Superintendent Registrar. I'm empowered by statute to celebrate marriages, and it's Sue and I's pleasure on behalf of the Essex Registration Service to be here today. So this place in which we've all just met has been duly sanctioned according to law for the celebration of marriages. We are all here today to witness the joining in matrimony of Joseph James Larkin and Danielle Ann Patton. And if any person here present knows of any lawful impediment to this marriage, you should declare it now. We have silence. We can move on. So this is a very special day for you both, for today you have chosen to make a public commitment to each other through vows sincerely made and faithfully kept. And through your presence here today, you are expressing your support for both Joe and Danielle. Before you are joined in matrimony, it is my duty to remind you of the solemn and binding character of the vows you're about to make. Marriage in this country means the union of two people voluntarily entered into for life to the exclusion of all others. The purpose of marriage is that you may always care for and support each other through every aspect of your lives. It is a decision to share love, friendship, and show mutual respect. Marriage is a desire by two people not only to share themselves and their experiences, but also to accept one another as individuals. Marriage means making a commitment to developing cooperation. It calls for honesty, patience, and of course humour. A good partner will be loving and caring, but above all, a best friend. So now Joe and Danielle, I'm about to ask each of you in turn to make a declaration that you do not know of any legal reason why you should not be married to each other. So Joe, repeating after me your declaration that you're free to marry. I do solemnly declare.
I do solemnly declare.
That I know not.
That I know not.
Of any lawful impediment.
Of any lawful impediment.
Why I, Joseph James Larkin.
Why I, Joseph James Larkin.
May not be joined in matrimony.
May not be joined in matrimony.
To Danielle Ann Patton.
To Danielle Ann Patton.
Well done. Oh. That was good. I do solemnly declare
that I know not
of any lawful impediment
why I, Danielle Ann Padden
may not be joined in matrimony
to Joseph James Larkin.
Right. Now you have both declared that you're free to marry. Now we come to that very formal and legal contract that you make before your witnesses and guests. So could we ask our two witnesses, please, Gaynor and Jackie, to just stand behind our bride and groom there. And now would the two of you like to turn and face one another and hold both hands as you're going to contract your marriage in front of your witnesses and guests. Joe, repeating after me, please. I, Joseph James Larkin.
I, Joseph James Larkin.
Take you, Danielle Ann Padden.
Take you, Danielle Ann Padden.
To be my wedded wife.
To be my wedded wife.
Danielle. I, Danielle Ann Padden.
I, Danielle Ann Padden.
Take you, Joseph James Larkin.
Take you, Joseph James Larkin.
To be my wedded husband.
To be my wedded husband.
And Joe, as you take Danielle to be your wife, do you promise to be loyal and loving to her, to honour and cherish her in living your married life together?
I do.
Danielle, as you take Joe to be your husband, do you promise to be loyal and loving to him, to care for him and cherish him in your living your married life together?
I do.
Joe and Danielle are going to make a special promise now to one another. So Joe, if you'd like to repeat that promise, please. Danielle, as I take you to be my wife,
Danielle, as I take you to be my wife,
I promise to love you,
I promise to love you,
to honour and respect
to
you.
honour and respect you.
I will stand by you
I will stand by you
and be true to you always.
and be true to you always.
I will care for you,
I will care for you,
laugh with you when you are happy,
laugh with you when you are happy,
comfort you when you are sad,
comfort you when you are sad,
and whatever life may bring,
and whatever life may bring,
I will always love you.
I will always love you.
That's perfect. You'd like to repeat that promise? Joe, as I take you to be my husband,
Joe, as I take you to be my husband,
I promise to love you,
I promise to love you,
to honour and respect you.
to honour and respect you.
I will stand by you
I will stand by you
and be true to you always.
and be true to you always.
I will care for you,
I will care for you,
laugh with you when you are happy,
laugh with you when you are happy,
and comfort you when you are sad.
and comfort you when you are sad.
And whatever life may bring,
And whatever life may bring,
I will always love you.
I will always love you.
That's just perfect, both of you. So now you've both declared that you're free to marry, you've now contracted your marriage, and now it is tradition that you exchange your wedding rings. So a wedding ring is an unbroken circle which symbolises unending and love, and is the outward sign of the lifelong promise that you just made to one another. So now if we could ask the witnesses to take a seat, we'll ask our important best man, Nick, to come forward with the rings, please. This side, the other way, please. Place that on the tip of Danielle's finger. Thank you very much. As you say these words to her. Danielle, I give you this ring
Danielle, I give you this ring
as a symbol of our marriage.
as a symbol of our marriage.
I promise to be loving,
I promise to be loving,
faithful and loyal to you
faithful and loyal to you
in living our married life together.
in living our married life together.
Well done, Joe.
It's on there.
It's all right.
And Danielle, would now like to take Joe's ring, place it on the tip of his finger, left hand, just in case it's shaking, hold on to it there, and say these words to him. Joe, I give you this ring
Joe, I give you this ring
as a symbol of our marriage.
as a symbol of our marriage.
I promise to be loving,
I promise to be loving,
faithful and loyal to you
faithful and loyal to
in
you
living our married life together.
in living our married life together.
Well done.
You're mine now.
Joe and Danielle, you have both made those declarations as prescribed by law. You've made a solemn and binding contract with each other in the presence of your witnesses, family and guests with you today. This day is the first day of a new life for you together, and we hope the feelings of love that you have for one another will deepen and grow even stronger over many years to come. It now gives me very great pleasure in announcing you husband and wife.
Loving can hurt. Loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. It is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, our hearts are never broken, and time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. And you won't ever be alone. Wait for me to come home. Loving can heal. Loving can mend your soul. And it's the only thing that I know. I swear it will get easier. Remember that with every piece of yeah. And it's the only thing we take with us when we die. We keep this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, hearts were never broken, time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. And if you hurt me, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed inside these pages. You just hold me. I won't ever let you go. Wait for me to come home. 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 Oh, you can fit me inside the necklace you got when you were 16, next to your heartbeat where I should be. Keep it deep within your soul. And if you hurt me, well, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed inside these pages. You just hold me. I won't ever let you go. When I'm away, I will remember how you kissed me under the lamppost back on 6th Street, hearing you whisper through the phone, wait for me to come home. There's no combination of words I could put on the back of a postcard. No song that I could sing, but I can try for your heart. And our dreams, and they are made out of real things, like a shoebox of photographs with sepia tone loving. Love is the answer, at least, for most of the questions in my heart, like why are we here and where do we go, and how come it's so hard. And it's not always easy, and sometimes life can be deceiving. I'll tell you one thing, it's always better when we're together. It's always better when we're together. Yeah, we'll look at them stars when we're together. Well, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Moments just might find their way into my dreams tonight, but I know that they'll be gone when the morning light sings or brings new things. For tomorrow night you see that they'll be gone too. Too many things I have to do, but if all of these dreams might find their way into my day-to-day scene, I'd be under the impression I was somewhere in between, with only two, just me and you. Not so many things we got to do, or places we got to be. We'll sit beneath the mango tree now. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. We're somewhere in between together. Well, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. I believe in memories, they look so pretty when I sleep. Hey, now and when I wake up, you look so pretty, sleeping next to me. But there is not enough time, and there is no song I could sing, and there is no combination of words I could say, but I will still tell you one thing, we're better together.
Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John, I'm Danielle's dad, Joe's father-in-law. I don't know whether I've overdone it or underdone it on this speech, so if it's too long I apologise, if it's too short I apologise. I hope you'll find it a little bit interesting anyway. Firstly, thank you to everyone of you who's come today. I know it's a weekday, and that means that you've all had to take some time off work, and the children have had to take some days off school, so they'll be happy about that, I'm sure. But we're very, very grateful to you all for coming on a Thursday. We know it's not easy. Okay, 2016, give me a cheer or a boo. I haven't said anything yet. We've had Brexit. We've had Donald Trump. We've had Dan and Joe getting married. Congratulations to Dan and Joe. It's been a very, very good day so far, and I'm sure it will continue to be. When I found out about Dan and Joe getting married, the first thing that I did was go to Google, as most people would, and tried to get a few hints and tips about doing a father of the bride speech. And it was a little bit depressing when I actually read it. It said, you're the warm-up act, you're not the centre of attention. The centre of attention is Joseph and his best man. So don't try to be too clever about it. It's something to be endured rather than enjoyed by the audience, which I thought was a little bit unfair. Keep it 5 to 7 minutes in length. Set the scene for the groom and the best man, and don't try to be too clever. I've got 9 or 10 pages of text here. I don't, as I say, I don't know whether I've got it wrong, but I'll try to keep it as short as I can. How can I come up with something that's 5 to 7 minutes in length, reasonably entertaining for all of you, meaningful for Danielle and Joe on their special day? I'm going to speak about 3 people: Danielle, Joseph and Gaynor. Gaynor is my wife of 32 years. It's a long time. When we met, we were practically just out of childhood. We were very young adults, and Danielle followed pretty soon afterwards. It wasn't the easiest start to life that we could have had, but Gaynor was quite fiery. I was quite set in my ways, and it made for a bit of a difficult relationship at times. But Danielle came into the world very, very soon after we got together in 1987. She was born 5 days after the Great Hurricane of 1987, on the 20th of October. Since that day, it would be fair to say that Gaynor has devoted herself to Danielle in a way that she has also done with her other daughters, Charlotte and Gemma. And it would be fair to say that from the very word go, her main ambition and purpose in life has been to look after Danielle and to develop her and Gemma and Charlotte in the best way that she could. From the word go, Danielle would have the best, of everything. The best that Tesco's had to offer in nappies. The best that Tesco's had to offer in bun cream. Freshly prepared food, no jars of processed food, it was always freshly prepared. As she got a little bit older, Gaynor still hadn't managed to pass her driving test, but that didn't stop her taking Danielle everywhere. Brownies, rainbows, swimming, everywhere that she needed to go, in all weathers, with, at times, 2 smaller children in tow. Gaynor would do all that she needed to do to ensure that Danielle got all of the entertainment and development that she needed. She was then, and still continues to be, a very devoted mum. Then Danielle gets to teenage years. We all know what teenagers can be like. Danielle was not too bad on that front. She was quite a placid child. And even now, when Danielle is nearly 30 years of age, she's nearly 30 years of age, would you believe that Gaynor still, every Christmas, provides Danielle with a Christmas stocking for the bottom of her bed, and she still buys her a chocolate advent calendar for the 1st of December every year. Which is all well and good, but obviously Charlotte and Gemma want the same. So does Joe. So now Joe's getting an advent calendar and a stocking for the bottom of the bed as well. So for the last year and a half, since Joe and Danielle announced their wedding, Gaynor has been in overdrive. Danielle refers to her as the mother, and that she has been, along with her boss Lena. Hamilton to Hornchurch for all your wedding needs. Bottom of the high street, 10% discount. Mention Joe and Danielle. And with Lena, over the last year and a half, or year and 3 or 4 months, she has worked tirelessly to ensure that every detail has been covered, and much of what you see today in terms of the decoration of the room, the furnishings, the invites, the table settings, everything is down really to Gaynor and Lena and all of the effort that they put into preparing for today. So we just want to say, I want to say on behalf of myself and on behalf of Danielle to her mum, thank you very much for all that you've done. Not just as a mum, but for what you've done in the last year and a half. Thank you very much. Right, moving on to. I've got 5 to 7 minutes, so I don't know how long I've taken, but I'll try to hurry up. Danielle is the lady of the moment. She's my beautiful daughter number 1. I hope you'll all agree she looks a picture today. I'm a very proud dad, and I'm sure that her mum and her sisters are proud of her as well. I do refer to her as daughter number 1, not because she's more dear to me than my other beautiful daughters. Charlotte, I love you. Number 3. But because she was... Gemma, I love you. But she was the first to come into the world. As every young parent will know, there's a lot of first experiences with your first child. Lots of oh my God moments with your first child, and we had plenty of those with Danielle over the years. We would never describe her as an accident, but she did arrive a little bit early, about 10 years early, and we hadn't planned it, but we've enjoyed every minute of Danielle's childhood and development as an adult, even though you were 10 years early. Many people make jokes about David and Victoria Beckham naming their children after where they were conceived. Brooklyn, for example. But we had to opt for Danielle in preference to the football playing fields on Green Lane, Thornton Heath. Or maybe, a little bit more romantically, Shirley Hills, Croydon. I can't remember which one it was, but in any event, it was a lovely occasion for me. Put it that way.
I didn't do that.
The next oh my God moment is Gaynor telling me that she's pregnant.
Yeah, can you stop now?
And my having to break the news to my mum. My mum was a wonderful, wonderful woman, but she was a very traditional Irish, rural, West Coast Catholic, whose life revolved very, very much around the church. And she wasn't the most liberal person in the world, and it was something that I did worry about, having to say to her. But there you go, I had to do it. I presented myself in front of her one night after getting home and said, "Mum, there's something I need to say. She's pregnant." I said, "Yes, she is pregnant. Yes, she is pregnant." The first thing she told me to do was go and see the priest, which I did. I don't know why. And then she gave me some advice about using bucking French letters in the future. Just so that you know, bucking, as in bucking bronco, was the word that they would use occasionally instead of swearing. So instead of using the F word, they would say buck. And it's something that was quite common in my mum's family. I don't know whether there are any other Irish families here today. But whenever I went to see my family in Ireland, my Uncle Paddy would pick me up at the station in Sligo and he'd say, "What have you got in this bucking case?" And so it would go on. But anyway, there was quite a lot of bucking going on in our house once I told Mum about Danielle. Anyway, fast forward 9 months and we get to the Mayday prenatal suite, or whatever it might be called, the Mayday Hospital in Croydon. They were having a busy, busy night. They had plenty of people in, obviously, not very many nurses and not very many midwives on duty. And it was our first child. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we were practically left to our own devices for the whole 6 hours. That Gaynor was in quite strong labour, screaming at the top of her voice, "Johnny, Johnny, Johnny." She's never ever called me Johnny before or since. But on that particular night, she was screaming, "Johnny, Johnny, Johnny." And the whole hospital heard it. But anyway, 6 hours later at 2 o'clock in the morning, out came this beautiful bundle of life, Danielle. And she was the best thing that had ever happened to both of us at that stage in our lives, and then obviously continues to be. We brought her home a few days later in a Moses basket to Gaynor's mum's, where we were both staying at the time. And again, like all new parents, I suspect, just to make sure that she didn't stop breathing. And she didn't. In much the same way as she is today, and touching wood, Danielle was a placid, serene, happy, wonderful little girl. Her only demands were that somebody would read her a book at bedtime and somebody would lay on the bed with her until she fell asleep. And often that took hours, and it was always me that had to do it, not her mum. There were no tantrums, there were no hysterics, and unlike sister number 2, she didn't beat anybody up in the playground. All the parents would say it about their own children, but Danielle was the perfect child. So much so that when we decided to get married in 1991, we did not hesitate to have her at age 3 as our bridesmaid. And she stood there at a very, very tender age for the best part of 30 to 45 minutes as our bridesmaid behind us at the ceremony and didn't move a muscle for the whole time that we were there. And we were very, very proud of her at the time. Again, had it been child number 2, it would have been Catch Me If You Can, in and out of the pews. But that was not the case with Danielle. I've always been brought up to mime a language, and have always done so, and tried to do so in front of the children. My mum always said, "Keep your head down, don't go mad. Never have too much to say for yourself." Meeting Gaynor's extended family for the first time was an interesting experience. I was a young reserve boy from Peckham, and you can imagine what it was like to be confronted by a family of exclusively quite loud, charismatic women. Half a dozen sisters and not a brother in sight. There were 3 things that struck me about them. Firstly, they were always shouting at each other, not in anger, and not through argument, but just through conversation. Secondly, the odd swear word would pop out from time to time. Thirdly, they would always carry on a conversation to you when they were going to the toilet. Gaynor was my girlfriend of just a couple of weeks. She invited me to her nan's for the first time to meet her extended family. Went into the house, sat down on the toilet, left the door open, going to the toilet, started having a conversation with me. Everyone else is screaming and swearing in the background, and I'm standing there thinking, what on earth have I got myself into? But there you are. Anyway, the swearing rubbed off a little bit on me, and on the odd occasion I did let the odd bad word out in front of Danielle. One night we were, so I do apologise, one night we were sitting in front of the TV, Danielle was on the floor playing, and it was all quiet, and upstairs all of a sudden the radio alarm clock went off. We'd obviously set it for PM rather than AM or something like that. Danielle stood up, age 2, or whatever she might have been, and said, "That bucking radiator," ran up the stairs and turned it off. She's always showed signs of intelligence, a very clever girl. She has many friends here from the Ombudsman Service today. They'll know how clever she is. But she did let herself down a couple of times when she was young. She liked to play hide and seek. And it's very funny how children's minds work. But Danielle believed when she was playing hide and seek that if she couldn't see you, you couldn't see her. So we would start off with the game of hide and seek. We'll count to 20 and we'll come and find you. And we'd go upstairs and Danielle would be standing by the door, holding on to the door, looking behind the door, but in full view. So we would say to Danielle, "No, that's not the idea, Danielle. You have to position yourself so that we can't see you when we come into the room." So fair enough, she says. We go downstairs, count to 20, we're coming ready or not. Up the stairs we go, and she's in the toilet, holding on to the toilet, staring down the toilet. She can't see anything down the toilet, but because she can't see anything, we can't see her. So needless to say, that was the end of that. I didn't go much further. Moving on to her school days. Danielle did all that was expected of her. I mean, I know it sounds as if I'm saying she's fantastic, and so, but she was. And if there was anything bad about her, I would tell you now, but there wasn't. She was a fantastic child. Not just in her academic achievements, but always the way that she behaved towards her friends and her teachers at school as well. She always got as many marks for her behaviour as she did for her maths and her English and so on and so forth. There wasn't a single year in her primary and secondary schooling when her reports were anything other than first class. She thought about going to university. We had an interesting day when we went to take a look at the University of Kent in Canterbury. I decided to lose all of my hearing on that particular day, and it was quite traumatic for me, mostly traumatic for Danielle, and not the sort of day that she needed to actually go and view a university during. But as things turned out, she decided not to go to university. I think she probably regrets it, and if she had a chance to do it again, she would. But in any event, she decided that she wanted to work overseas, and within half a dozen days of deciding that she wanted to work overseas, she was working overseas. She applied for a job in an office with Monarch Holidays, Cosmos Holidays. They didn't have any jobs in the office, but they did have a job as a rep, running up and down the Lido di Jesolo in Italy, on a bike, in full uniform. And within 5 days, this quiet, placid, reserved young lady was a holiday representative in the Lido di Jesolo for Monarch Holidays. A job that requires somebody to have a very outgoing personality, to sell lots of excursions and so on and so forth. She did the job very well, and she spent a few months there and thoroughly enjoyed herself. She made a success out of that, and when she came back, continued to work for the same company in the legal department, and eventually joined the Financial Ombudsman Service. And Financial Ombudsman Service, in brief terms, and they'll tell me if I'm wrong, they adjudicate on financial disputes between consumers and banks and consumers and insurance companies and so on and so forth. It's a very, very important role that they carry out. And the adjudicators and the ombudsman have their decisions published. Yeah. And so it's something that you need to have. Hey! And it's a hell of a job. And in a very, very short time that she's been there, she's moved from being a low-ranking adjudicator type person, to being a reasonably high-ranking ombudsman manager. And she takes up that position in January, and I think she needs to be congratulated. Hope she looks after me out of her first bonus. Right, as an adult, she's charismatic, she's level-headed, she's a bit of a diva from time to time, aren't we all? She's got a brilliant sense of humour. She's often the only one who laughs at my jokes. She's the queen of dub smash. I wanted to have a presentation for you today, but I couldn't actually get it on, but she really is. She's a dancer, she's a twerker, extraordinaire. And I hope that her wedding dress doesn't prevent her from putting on her full range of moves later on with Aidan O'Brien. Her number 2. To me, she's not just a daughter, but she's a good friend. She's always on hand to help me and her mum, and she's always good to be around. So to summarise, she's a young lady who Gaynor and I are proud to have as our daughter. Gemma and Charlotte are proud to have her as a sister. We know that she will be a great wife to Joe, and she will continue to be a great friend to him. She will also be a fantastic mum to their children, and we can't wait for those children to arrive. Joe and Dan are going to Iceland for their first honeymoon, so they won't be having the test tube baby next year, they'll be having an ice cube baby. I told Danielle about that one earlier. Danielle, we love you very much, and we hope that you have a great day today. Okay. Just a couple more minutes now. Right, moving on to Joseph. What can I say? Let's start with the basics. I like him. He's a good lad. He's a nice boy. I've always been a little bit prejudiced in the past and a little bit narrow-minded when it comes to fellows, young men and Star Wars and Star Trek. I've always been of the belief that you like football or you like Star Trek. And there's no in-between. But Joe's turned me on to the fact that there are people who can be equally interested in science fiction and football. He's got a healthy interest in both. He's a Portsmouth supporter, so that's a little bit questionable. But at least he's not a West Ham boy. And for somebody who was born and bred in Romford, I really thought there was a very good chance that she would bring home a West Ham supporter, but she didn't, which is a good thing. Joe has many admirable qualities. In the time that I've known him, he's been nothing but respectful to myself and Gaynor. He does play his odd little tricks from time to time. Every time he comes around the house, he leaves the iPad with a picture of old age pensioners on it. Why? He probably does it at your houses as well. Why he does that, we don't know. But he obviously enjoys it, so we let him get on with it. He's quite a competitive lad. I like that in a person. He's the only person I know who, when he's playing a PlayStation car racing game with an opponent, Aidan, and when he's getting beaten, he decides to halt the race halfway through and change to a car with a bigger engine. That's how competitive he is. He's a Trivial Pursuit genius. He's a bit of a general knowledge quiz master. He's not as good as me yet, but nearly. And he does memorise all the questions before the quiz starts. So he's always going to win. He's also very good at table football. He beat me 10-1. Anyone who beats me 10-1 at table football has got to have the table rigged. It's probably got magnets in it. So we'll check that out come Christmas. It was a hot summer's day a year and a half ago when, in what was a surreal moment, Charlotte, daughter number 3, brought home Millwall's best player as her new boyfriend, Aidan O'Brien. And so I was in a state of nervousness, having supported them from the age of 10. He's only 22 years of age at this stage. I'm 49, and I'm nervous. But there you are. Joe and Danielle arrived for the barbecue as well. And Joe normally comes in and says, "How are you, John?" "I'm very well, thanks. Go and get yourself a drink out of the fridge, Joe." Joe goes to the fridge, gets himself a drink, and that's all I hear from him. Anyway, I'm down at the barbecue in a heat trap at the bottom of the garden. They're all up at the top, drinking away. Aidan's on shandies. And Joe turns up at the barbecue. "How are you, John?" "I'm all right, thanks, Joe." "Yeah. How's the sausage coming? They're coming along really well. Yeah, a bit hot, isn't it, John?" "Yeah. Yeah, it is Joe, yeah. Joe, get up there, have a drink, and I'll bring the food up in a minute. 5 minutes later, all right, John, I'm fine, Joe. I'm getting hotter. How are the sausages coming along? They're going really, really well, Joe. Get up there, Joe, have a drink, and I'll bring the sausage when I'm finished. Anyway, 10 minutes later, he turns up again, and I'm beginning to think, this is unhealthy. He's got too much of an interest in my sausage. He blurts it out. John, I want your permission to marry your daughter. Which says everything about Joe. He did it in the right way, he did it in the traditional way. He wasn't ultra confident. He took 2 or 3 attempts to get the question put to me, but he did it in the end. And I was obviously very, very pleased to say, of course, Joe, you have my unwavering support. And thank you very much for asking me. So that was that. Joe then had to put his ducks in a row. Or put his penguins in a row, because that's how Joe proposes. He doesn't use ducks, he uses penguins. And I wasn't allowed to say anything to anybody for a number of months until such time that Joe had arranged the proposal ceremony at Colchester Zoo. And what he did, for those of you who don't know, he arranged a day out for himself and Danielle at the zoo in the penguin enclosure, and somehow arranged for the penguins, a flock of penguins, to be there at the time that the ring was delivered and Joe proposed. I don't know the full detail of it, but that is Joe all over. He could have taken a Ryanair Paris steak, Eiffel Tower, will you marry me? He didn't do that. He put time and effort and a lot of preparation into preparing something that would be that much different and very much romantic. More romantic than others would think of, and that's him all over. He goes the extra mile to make Danielle happy, and that's all that I would want from him. Outward appearances are not everything, of course, and every dad wants to get inside the head of their future son-in-law. Robert De Niro did it in Meet the Parents. He took Ben Stiller into the toilet and gave him a truth serum. A little jab in the neck, which is what I did to Joe earlier. Joe can't remember it, but I did do it. What did he tell me? To get inside the Padden family circle of trust. He also admitted that when we were on holiday last year and he was looking after our beautiful, timid, much-loved West Highland White Terrier, Benny, who is petrified of water, Joe did chase him around the garden with the hose after he weed on his tomato plants. Finally, and this is something that maybe Joe and Danielle might be able to help us with, he said that he's comforted to know that when Danielle is not at home, he will be going home to her friend Miss Scarlett, who will be waiting for him. Yeah, I don't know, do you know what it means? Yeah. He says that he can get into his Chewbacca outfit, and I think that's science fiction related. And then he and Miss Scarlett will enjoy no end of role play, acting out various scenes from science fiction movies. All very interesting, and I dare say they'll be happy to tell you all about it a little bit later. But you didn't think I knew about that, did you? No, okay. Right, well, more seriously. Very seriously, and finally regarding Joe, there's one thing that Dad looks for calm down, don't worry about it. I'm very broad-minded, very broad-minded. There's one thing that a dad looks for in a future son-in-law. Money, status, security, maybe. Car, maybe. Football team, maybe. But does he put his daughter ahead of his own interests? Yes, Joe does. I believe that he does. Does he put her first in everything that they do? Yes, I believe that he does. And that's a wonderful thing. We often go out as a family for a walk on a Sunday afternoon or whatever. Sometimes we go to Southend, sometimes we go up to the South Bank in London. On one particular day, a winter's day, we all got wrapped up in our coats and scarves and hats, gloves. Joe wore a t-shirt. We went out to the embankment. We walked across the pedestrian bridge at the embankment to the South Bank. Charlotte held my hand because I'm scared of heights. And away they went in front of us, Joe and Danielle, hand in hand, chatting away. oblivious to the fact that they were actually with us. So happy in their own company. And I just said to Gaynor, that's all that you need. That's all that you need. You don't need any more than that. They were obviously not just very much in love, but they were obviously good friends with each other as well. And that is all that I want. That snapshot in time said it all. We welcome you to our family, Joe, and through your marriage to Danielle, we are glad to join with your family, Jackie and Danny. We hope that you, your family and friends will have a great day today. And if you need the Chewbacca outfit, I've got it in the car. Right, that's nearly it from me. Before I sit down, can I just mention some absent friends today from our side of the family. I'm sure there are the people from Joe's side of the family as well. My mum, Anne, Gaynor's mum, Pat, both of whom passed away very early in life, but they would have been very proud to see Danielle getting married today, and I'm sure they're looking down on her now. Gaynor's nan and granddad, Wyn and Bill, wonderful, beautiful people who spent many, many years looking after both Danielle and Gaynor as they were growing up. Two of the most special people I've ever met. And Gaynor's aunts, Margaret and Molly, who also passed away very recently, they would have been really pleased and delighted to see Danielle here today. So we miss them all very much. Not for the last time today, I'm sure. Can I ask you to raise your glasses to Joe and Danielle and wish them every happiness for the future. Joe and Danielle.
Joe and Danielle.
Thank you very much. Hope they can go in through them.
If we underdid it with 7 pages, I'm about to seriously disappoint. And can I just point out as well, John, Danielle had a couple of detentions with me in year 10. Did he not know? She called me names. Mine's fairly short and sweet. So you hear the saying that you don't get to choose your family. I guess I must have got lucky because I got to choose Danielle and to have Danielle in my life as another sister. There are 1,000,001 stories I could probably tell you about Danielle and our friendship, but I'll try and keep it short and sweet and a little bit embarrassing. Danielle and I met when we were 10 in school. When we realised that we lived a road away from each other, she would knock for me and we'd often go out and we'd buy sweets, or we'd go over to Danielle's and watch Finding Nemo endlessly. And we'd just talk about school and stuff, and we were never the cool kids, were we, Beck? No. Probably quite the opposite, but I just remember us never even really thinking about that. We were just so happy to go out and do stuff together. We'd wake up in the morning to Danielle's mum, Gaynor, hoovering around our heads, and her sisters, Gemma and Charlotte, would then come running in completely naked and start dancing and all over our heads. It was always fun. You guys thought it would just be Danielle that I embarrassed. But Danielle still laughs now at how I used to go out dressed when we were younger, especially when we used to go to the swimming pool. I'd have my sporty Adidas joggers on, and then I'd be wearing my school loafers. I'd usually get the last laugh because when we got into the swimming pool, I used to have to zip her costume up at the back, and she had these really cute hairs on her back, and I'd have to avoid them. I'd go, she doesn't have them anymore, so it's okay. I'm really sorry, that's the worst one, it really is. I love you. I think our clubbing years were probably the most hilarious. We're a bit like a comedy duo. So Danielle would be in the corner taking her heels off, I'd be falling over somewhere with Shiv, and we'd get thrown out for having crappy fake IDs. But the worst part was probably the hot dog van. So, you know, at the end of the night, you normally see people queuing up like 2 o'clock in the morning at the hot dog van. Not me and her, no. We'd go to the bar, we'd have a couple of drinks, we'd stop for a snack at about 11 o'clock, so we'd pop out to the van, then we'd carry on, finish our night, and then we'd probably hit the van again. I'd be lying if I said we didn't do that most of the time. So I remember the day Danielle called me to say she was going on a date with Joe. She was so excited. Danielle had always had a crush on Joe. She still now remembers the time we were on the bus together. Joe slipped and accidentally fell into my boob. I don't think she's forgiven us for that still now. And it was an accident, Danielle. Anyway, just to move on quickly. Joe, I just want to say I think you're an incredible man. You came into Danielle's life and you've brought her so much joy. You support her, you look after her, you're funny, you're sweet, you know all the best scary movies to watch, even if you do make us put our phones away and you get mad at us for asking stupid questions in the most important parts. There is no one better for her, and I hope that you always remember that. Danielle, you're the most beautiful bride, you look perfect. You have always and will always be my best friend. We both know I'm not always the person that speaks the loudest or remembers the most important dates, but I'll be your side for our whole lives, no matter what. I'm so happy that you found your prince and that you'll live happily ever after. I love you both very much, and I'm so honoured to have a special partner today. To Joe and Danielle.
Settle down. For those of you who don't know me well, I am absolutely terrified of this sort of thing, so I apologise if I kind of wander off and kind of ramble on about absolutely nothing, but whatever. It's a wedding. I want to say thanks everyone for coming. It means so much to us to have so many loving friends and family here to come and share our special day with us. I know John's given a very extensive speech about history. It was a good speech, and as Sam said, how we all met at college. So I met Danielle at college. We used to get the bus home, the 193, used to be me, Danielle, Sam, and occasionally Joycey over there. Joycey just kept himself to himself, and then I used to just stumble and fall into the car. Years went by, I went to university, Danielle got a job, and then I picked up a very severe injury at work. I know Pete and Chris will disagree with this, but I did get taken out by a tree playing football. And I was kind of holed up in bed for a few days, and I mean, there's nothing you can do like when you're just in bed, just scroll through Facebook. So I came across a very enticing photo of Danielle. She was wearing a kind of salmony pink dress, put in a kind of pout face, and I kind of thought, well, I'll ask her out on a date. So I asked her out on a date, and then, a few weeks went by until we figured out, a date to go out with each other for. But I had to actually ask her if it was a date, because I wasn't entirely sure whether she was just agreeing to meet me as a friend. And I remember talking to Chris going, what do I text her? And he was just like, oh, are you looking forward to our little date? And you said yes, and I think I was just like, yeah. So we went to Prezzo in Hornchurch for our first date, and we go back there every year now to celebrate. I mean, sometimes it's a bit rough in there, but it's tradition, so you can't I was a bit nervous when I met Danielle's family for the first time. For those of you who know Danielle's parents' road, it's quite long, and the 193 goes the entire length of it. And I thought, well, if I get off at the start of the road, I've got time to, this is in the days when I did smoke, to, sneak in a quick cigarettes, calm my nerves. Didn't realise how long the road was, and had about 3 or 4 cigarettes by the time. So God only knows what they thought when they opened the door and see this youth just stinking of cigarettes with 3 diamond earrings and a chain going around my neck, wanting to come in through the door. And then Gemma and Charlotte came running down the stairs in their dressing gowns. I remember Charlotte was sitting on Gemma's lap, and they were just staring at me, judging me. And I didn't really know what to do, but I was immediately welcomed into the family. And you get a sense that you fit right in. Gangler's hilarious and kind-hearted, and she's a right character, and John's also hilarious. And if you haven't spoken to John yet, just bring up football and he'll try and get you on the Millwall bandwagon, as you've heard. And for someone who's not a massive fan of football, I found myself now twice at a Millwall game. One at the Wembley one last May, where there was hooligans all fighting at the top of the thing. So I can tick that off my bucket list now that I've been to a hooligan. I always wanted a sister. When my brother got married to Mel a few years ago, I got a cool older sister who was great at giving advice. There's certain things that you can't, unsee or unhear. I'm not going to go into details, but I think I saw Gemma naked before I saw Danielle naked. We moved in together after 8 months. Danielle already had a flat in Purfleet, and I didn't know where Purfleet was. I mean, again, those of you who know me know I don't really like to travel that far outside of my own comfort zone. So when she said Purfleet and I'd never heard of it, I thought it was over the other side of London, and I was like, oh, that's off that, I'm not going to get it. And then when she told me this by later, I was like, oh, right, cool, I can go shopping on a Sunday, then it's fine. But I remember we were sitting in the car and she was saying to me after 8 months, oh, when do you think you'll be ready to move in? And I was like, I'm ready now. And she couldn't really go back on that, so after 8 months I moved all of my stuff into the flat. And out of the 2.5 wardrobes that were in the bedroom, I was delegated to the cupboard in the hallway. But I had to clear out that cupboard first, and I came across an old box of phones. And being a bit of a tech guy, I thought, well, I'll charge up some of these phones and just see what's on them. Why not? And I went into the photo album of one old pink Samsung phone, or whatever it was, and I found photos of me. Sitting there at college eating a baguette, there was a picture of me. So it turns out she was a bit of a stalker, but I do love her. And I just kind of let that one go and just thought, haha, whatever. So but as I say, I love Danielle. She makes me happy and she makes me the most proudest guy in the world. She improves my confidence every day and she makes me a better person. She made me the happiest guy in the world when she agreed to marry me. And I think we can all agree that she looks absolutely stunning today. Yeah. So I think it's a toast. Who also did an amazing job with pretty much planning the entire wedding. I turned up, I've got to do this thing. And the bridesmaids looked absolutely incredible. They've always been there for Danielle. I'm eternally grateful for everything you've done for her, especially over the last year and a half, like keeping her calm. She seems to be ridiculously calm. I've been the nervous one. I was a wreck this morning. I get a text going, yeah, Danielle's fine, yeah, she's loving it. And then my groomsmen, who also scrub up quite well on a day like this. I've got my brother and my best friends standing with me by my side, so I can't ask for anything more than that. They did an amazing job with the various stag do's. It was great fun. Just leave it there. We've got our gorgeous flower girl Lily. And our handsome page boy Harry, who's on the floor. We're so happy and thrilled that you can be part of our special day with us. We've also want to say thank you to the guests who've travelled extremely long distances to be with us today. We've got Jackie, Emma and Lucy over there who've travelled from Spain. And we've got Michael and Kate who come all the way from Dubai. I'm really sorry because I'm sure the weather is incredible in both Spain and Dubai to come to this, so I'm pretty sorry. As John said, my next hope would be for all of our loved ones who can't be here today. That goes for my nans, Nanny Nell, Nanny Lil, Grandad Jack and George, Mary and Harry, and I know John's already mentioned it, but Nanny Pat would be extremely proud of Daniel today. So, yeah, please. I want to say thank you to my own mum and dad, who have always been there for me. Dad he's been my personal taxi for life. He's made countless trips down to Portsmouth when he came to pick me up from uni. My excuse was that I couldn't carry a hamster cage on the train. It was a girl hamster that I called Brian. And I remember the poor thing died. I remember Jahal here came down to uni for me to throw him into the sea. Well, the problem we had was that in his little hutch he lived in a little hollowed out coconut, and so we put him in the coconut, put loads of 2p's in it to weigh it down, sellotaped it all up and then threw it in the sea where it floated back. But we left the scene, we just thought we'd get out of this. Some poor child just found the coconut, shook it, heard loads of money and just found some bloody hamster in it. But as I say, Dad didn't mind coming down to pick me up, so that was an excuse for us to get a large fry up from the little chef on the way home. So that became tradition. So it's like, oh, Dad, you know, I can pick me up, I'm a bit busy, but I'll get a little chef. All right then. They've supported me with every decision I've made, and I'm eternally grateful. And you're also my personal overdraft, so thank you very much. We've also got some flowers here for the mums. So.
Oh, thank you. Beautiful.
I just want to say thanks again to Dad, who's very kindly put some money behind the bar. So in the evening reception tonight, show your appreciation. Keep me drunk, keep that right going. But before I hand over to, I know my brother Nick wants to say a couple of words, but I just want to say thanks again for coming, and it means the world to us that you shared this day. So thank you very much.
I thought as his brother, it's only fair to say a few short words. I'll leave the gas to James, but I just wanted to say how proud I am to be here by Joe's side on such an important day. Sorry. In the wedding card, I've put the primary school fine. You can just make a cheque payable to Haven Council. In all seriousness, it's lovely to see Joe and Danielle officially commit the rest of their lives together. She's obviously a very understanding young woman. Everybody knows how happy they are together, just like John said, and how well they fit as a couple, and now as husband and wife. Today is only the start of the journey, and the next step, hopefully, will be to finally give my kids some little cousins to play with. It's really great to spend the day with so many friends and family in such a wonderful venue. But I'd also like to thank Joe for letting me invite myself on his stag do. It was a lovely gesture. Jokes aside, I had a great time out there. It was good to meet a lot of his mates, some who I moved from school, and many who I met for the first time. They're really good lads, but I think they like a stag activity a bit too much. I didn't know he had so many good friends, including a few famous faces, like Rob Beckett, one of the boys from One Direction, but seriously, no one wants to spend a weekend with Adam Johnson. What did she say? She said no. It was also fun seeing what Joe's really like with his mates, because if you asked to sum up my brother, I'd say it was a bit of a blur of memories of sticking buttons up his nose when we were kids, or blackmailing him into doing things, like when I caught him lying to mum and dad about using a dial-up internet when they didn't even know we had a modem. And in them days, the pop-ups were really hard to show. He may huff and puff about things at first, but I don't think he's ever refused to do anything I've ever asked of him. Joe may be your workmate, a college friend, a brother-in-law, or even a godfather. But even here today, sitting as a married man, to me he'll always be my 14-year-old little brother. It may not easily show, but I've always looked out for him. Some things he knows, and some things he doesn't, and probably never will. But I guess that's what being brothers is all about. John slightly overwent his 5 to 7 minutes. But I've massively overstepped Joe's allotted time of 0 seconds. So it's time to hand over to James. Joe, this could be an uncomfortable couple of minutes coming up for you. And judging by what I've heard, I hope the same can't be said for poor Danielle later tonight in the marathon. You're a wonderful brother, and congratulations to you both. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you James.
Cheers, Nick. Some wonderful words there, mate. Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As Nick has already mentioned, my name is James, and along with him, I'm one of the best men today. I've never really given a speech before, if I'm honest, but Joe and I do share the same sense of humour, so if it isn't funny, please feel free to blame Joe. I'm sure you'll agree it was a wonderful ceremony earlier, and it's been a beautiful day, surpassed only by the beautiful bride herself, Danielle. Joe, I must say, you did well, mate. Danielle really looks 1 in a million, and alongside her, you look like you always do, 1 in a raffle. would just like to briefly echo earlier speakers in saying how wonderful the bridesmaids also look today, and what a brilliant job they have done in helping Danielle look as great as she does. And I would also like to thank the ushers for their assistance today and for managing to stay sober at least until dinner. So cheers, boys. I've known Joe for most of my life, and to be asked to be one of his best men today really is an honour. So thank you, Joe, for trusting me with this responsibility at your wedding. I know that as a married man now, Joe also has the clearest decisions with the boss, so I would also like to thank Danielle for allowing this one too. Now, as I previously mentioned, Joe and I have been friends for a long time, 24 years in fact, and within that time he certainly provided some great entertainment. One of my earliest memories of him was on a primary school trip to Wales, where Joe decided to wander through the halls completely naked while swinging a towel around his head and singing "Everybody Loves My Body." I certainly admired his confidence as an 11-year-old, but I have to say I'm not 100% sure the rest of the class agree. I did think, though, Joe, that Daniel might feel a little differently about it, so I did bring a towel along for you now, just in case you want to try it again tonight. There, mate.
Cheers,
From primary school, we then went to Campion, where Joe was forced to take part in PE, which, to be fair, was never his strongest subject. So poor was Joe, in fact, that whilst playing rugby, he managed to give himself and an unfortunate classmate concussion in what was meant to be a friendly practice match. Sadly for yours truly, said classmate happened to be me. Having decided rugby probably wasn't for him, Joe tried swimming, where rather than swim, he would instead entertain the class by pushing his man boobs together before running down the side of the pool pretending to be a woman waving down a bus. All before bobbing into the pool like something out of a John Smith advert. Suffice to say, he never made the swim team, but based on his poolside performances, I'm certain he would have made a great cheerleader. At 16, Joe discovered alcohol, and on one of his first attempts at drinking, decided to try and drink the house dry at my sister's 18th birthday party. Inevitably, Joe passed out and had to get an early ride home from my mum, leaving behind both his teenage bride and a mess on the living room carpet. From Campion, we then went to Sixth Form College together to study media, where Joe's talent for this subject was never more apparent than the time he managed to record over one of his teacher's personal videos with some wonderful close-ups of his own face. Instantly turning the genre from a family-friendly comedy to the horror movie event of the year. Having since developed these amazing skills further at Portsmouth University, Joe now works at Disney, where he takes his job very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that even on his stag do, he felt the need to represent Disney by dressing up as his favourite character. Cheers, James. I'm told he did inquire about a career as a character, but that unfortunately terrifying children everywhere wasn't the direction Disney wanted to go in for 2017. Whilst I always knew Joe would get it right in the end, he wasn't always so smooth with the ladies. An early attempt to catch an attractive sixth former's attention by throwing his bag in front of her inevitably ended in disaster, as she severely stumbled over it and only narrowly avoided an embarrassing fall. Not to be deterred, Joe would chase her upstairs, profusely apologising, but to no avail as she disappeared into class. I'm not quite sure what result you expect when you thought that one up though, mate. Many years later, on a lads' weekend away in Bournemouth, Joe's eyes for the ladies would fail him again, when he asked us to check out an attractive girl on the other side of the road who was looking in the opposite direction. Unfortunately for Joe, when an attractive girl eventually turned around, she would in fact be an unattractive man wearing a smashing black costume. He'll claim it was his poor eyesight, but he definitely had his lenses in.
It was Pride weekend.
In time, however, Joe would get it right. And a few years ago, myself and my friend James, one of today's ushers, were driving home one evening when we saw a rather dapper-looking Joe walking towards home. He got into the car and told us that he'd just been out on his first date with a girl called Danielle, who we used to go to college with. He said he felt it had gone well, but that he had to have a few drinks beforehand to settle the nerves. I'm pretty sure the opposite can be said for Danielle, who likely had to have a few drinks after. As they say, the rest is history. And here we are today, where Joe and Danielle are finally married for better or for worse, which is quite appropriate really, as Joe couldn't have done any better and Danielle couldn't have done any worse. But all jokes aside, Joe, you've always been a great friend to me, mate, and have played a very important role in my life. Looking back whilst writing this speech, I realised how school, college and life just wouldn't have been the same without you. And for a man who was scared of heights when we were younger, you certainly reached very high here and found yourself a lovely wife. And I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say what wonderful couple you are and how happy we are for the both of you. And finally, I'd like to invite everyone to join me in a toast in wishing you both a very long and happy life together. Ladies and gentlemen, to the bride and groom, Mr. and Mrs. Larkin. Thank you.
Gents, please do join the happy couple. Legends. Please put your hands together. Husband and wife. This is Mr. Larkin. Big congratulations to you both.